And there's my BMW Z3. Slightly covered to minimize the dust and everything, but hi, welcome back to carsaddiction.com. I'm Ryan, and if you're new to the channel, every Wednesday and Sunday we share car-related content. Wednesday is a short snippet of any car encounter I come across, and Sunday is a full-fledged video of any project, build, any of my cars or experience I come across. Today we are picking up one of my cars which I've left in another garage, I believe 18 months ago. So what happened was, January 2020, I decided to redo my garage, and during that week I had to move several cars in different garages. Now, to be honest, I had forgotten about this car and I'm going to go pick it up today. I thought I would have left it for just a week or 2 weeks, but 18 months later it's still there, and I'm going to go through what not to do when you store a car. Things to avoid, so when you come to store a car for a long period of time of 2 months or longer, you do it properly. So let's get to the car. And there she is. It's a bit dark over here, we have to move a lot of stuff at the front to get it out. Slightly covered to minimize the dust and everything, but she's right over here. There's not so much light, so let's get this car out and I'll show you what not to do when you store a car. And there she is, my 1999 BMW Z3, which has been storage for the past 18 months, but she's driving perfectly with some glitches. I'll mention them later on. So one thing not to do when putting into your car into storage is leaving the battery connected. What you want to do is just disconnect one terminal and leave it disconnected, and by the time it comes to drive the car, put it on a trickle charger or something the night before. Now, if you are going to be using the car every month or so, might as well leave it on the trickle charger for during that duration, but do disconnect the battery if not. Another thing I'd like to mention is covering the car. Some people are against it because covering the car might cause swirl marks onto the body, but if I hadn't covered the car, it would have been very dirty. I'm not sure if you can see the difference because this part wasn't covered. And but one thing not to do is store your car when it's dirty. I remember the day when I stored it, it was raining, and I said I'll just take it out a week after, and I never did, and you know, I have raindrops everywhere. Now, if you do the proper wax and everything and having the car cover on that, it shouldn't cause any swirl marks. It's better than having dust into the car. Tip number 3 is to overinflate your tires. This is because if you're going to be storing in the same place for a long periods of time, you're going to have flat spots there. So when driving the car, this is what I mentioned earlier, the only problem I had is you're going to have flat spots and you're going to feel them when you're driving the car. They might go eventually if the tires are good. Eventually they did on mine, but yours might stay there. So overinflate the tires. There's also something you can buy to put sort of on each side of the tire to keep it round, sort of to speak. But if you overinflate them, you're good. Now, tip number 4 is to leave the window fully open or partially. One, if you're opening and closing the door, you don't want it to sort of damage or shatter, maybe, because that, you know, if the battery is disconnected, it won't automatically go down. And you don't want the interior to get all mossed up with this white stuff. Now, my car is fully leathered, seats, the sides over there, the steering wheel. But it wasn't completely bad. This is one thing, good thing I did actually. If I had left the windows closed, it would have left the bacteria to sort of go overboard and have this all covered. But it's not that bad. It should just come off easily, I think. But if I had left the windows closed, it would have given the bacteria more time to breathe and to grow. But it's not that bad. This is the only the baddest part I have on the seat. And there's some on the dashboard, not sure if you can see it, but a good wash should be okay. Another tip is always store the car without the handbrake. You don't want everything tightened or anything like that, so make sure that is down. Another thing I'd like to point out is fuel. So when putting your car into storage, make sure the fuel in the car is actually on to the maximum. You want to avoid having rust build up on the sides of the fuel tank, and that will cause issues where you have to replace a fuel tank. If you had fuel in the fuel tank, there is no rust to be sort of had, and you can easily get away with it with just empty it and putting fresh fuel. So always leave it with a full tank of fuel. The last point I would like to make is the best thing when storing a car is if you can use it every month. Meaning if you can start the engine every month, and even better if you can just move it forward and backwards in the garage, so the suspension and brakes get to work, because these are the components that actually fail, mostly the brakes when stored in the garage, because obviously they are moving components and they might seize up. Thankfully for ours, they just got cleared up. We have even a spider web still staying there after a few miles driving. But that's it, you should be okay. This car has given me no issues. It just done 5 miles. No error lights or anything like that. I just gave it a fresh battery and looking forward to washing it. So thank you for watching this video. Hope it was helpful and hope you're subscribed. Take care.